Welcome back to the Breaking Ice podcast. My name is Josh Ferguson. Today I have the chance to sit down with Brandon Scott, our fire chief. And how you doing, Brandon?
Pretty good. How you doing there, Josh?
I'm doing good. I just got back from the winter road, so I'm just not into my rhythm yet. But you spent much time on the road?
I had a little drive back with my new truck there and getting everything packed away to go 2 weeks from now, head back south again, and sayonara.
It's kind of wild to see you go. I feel like you're such a staple here.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd asked me that question last year, this time I'd have said, you're crazy. I'm never moving away from here.
Yeah.
But opportunities arise, and
it's hard to fault people for when good things present themselves to them, and we're happy for you.
Never thought I'd be at this point in my career.
Oh, yeah. What is that point in your career? Tell us more.
I mean, I came to the north with my power engineering ticket. So, I mean, I started working for the GNWT, maintaining all their buildings there. Thought that was going to be my career for the rest of my life, didn't really give it much thought of, getting into emergency services. And then the town, I mean, we had gone through a few fire chiefs and there was another opening and the interest was in, getting somebody local. So that kind of sparked inside of my head there.
Why not me?
Put my name forward and here we are 3 years later. I'm gone into full-time firefighting emergency services.
That's pretty cool. And how does that stack up to your previous career in terms of how much you enjoy it?
I mean, the power engineering is kind of like you do the same thing day in, day out. I mean, especially working for the government, it's, the same work orders, the same routine. I mean, emergency services, you get that, action-packed. Like, I'm an adventure seeker, kind of like yourself.
Sure,
We like the, extreme outdoor activities, downhill skiing, anything that's dangerous, fast,
There's an appeal there.
There's an appeal there.
Yeah, and then the added benefit of actually being useful.
Exactly.
I
mean, I'm not going to lie. We all like playing with fire. It's best to do it in a controlled environment.
That's true. So, take me back. When did you decide to get interested in what is it? Power engineering?
Power engineering.
Yeah. How did your path kind of lead to that?
So, on my grandfather's side of the family, I kind of come from a long line of power engineers.
Okay.
So, Uncle Darrell, Uncle Alan, my grandfather. Yeah, there's a few people on that side of the family that are power engineers by trade. So all my uncles used to tell me, you get a job where you get paid for what you know, not for what you do. And, well, here I am now fighting fires, which is the complete opposite of that. But
well, it's a little bit of both. It's kind of a good blend.
It is a good blend. You get your rest periods, but you get your periods where you're absolutely hectic.
But it's not just a labor career either. Like, there is knowledge that you need to hold that is useful. So when did you come up to Norman Wells? You're not from here originally.
I'm not from here. No, originally from Newfoundland there.
The accent kind of gives you away.
Yeah. Can't shake that.
It's hard to lay low.
You can take a Newfie from the Bay, but you can't take the Bay from the Newfie.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But I came up here. It was December 27th, 2013.
Okay.
So the start of 2014.
That's when you first came to Norman Wells.
Well, no, I've been coming here a lot longer. That's when I first moved to Norman Wells to live here full time.
Okay, but you were a part of Norman Wells long before that?
Oh, I used to spend all my summers here from probably 2003 till about maybe 2009.
All right, tell me about your life then. So what were you doing in the off season?
Well, I mean, going to school.
Out east?
Out east, yeah.
Okay, and then you would come up here. Why?
Well, my dad lives here in town, so my sisters, obviously my parents split up when I was only, a young boy there, so I kind of grew up with two families. I had my Norman Wells family and I had my Newfoundland family, so I would come up here in the summertime. My sisters were here, my dad, stepmother, so good to see, all the fun stuff up here in the summertime. And my grandfather also worked on the NTCL barges, so
okay.
He used to pass through here on a regular basis too. So
okay, so you had kind of family in both. You were spread out and had a reason to be here.
Had a reason. Yeah.
And what'd you think about it back then? Was it a good time?
I mean, when I first moved to Norman Wells, I mean, cell phones were there was only specific cell phones that worked here. I mean, yeah, it was a culture shock for sure. I mean, you come to a place.
This is like 2003 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, stores close at 6 o'clock. Even worse than it is here now. So yeah, it was interesting for sure. The dirt roads was interesting.
An adjustment.
An adjustment. Yeah. Where do you play ball hockey?
Yeah. And then, it must have been an impact on you to decide to move here. So yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, moved up here, like work prospects in Newfoundland weren't the greatest at the time. I mean, they're probably still not the greatest. I mean, most of the guys that I know in the trades are, either working from, fly in, fly out or moving west. So I think it was just pretty standard for anybody that was in skilled trades or, any professional career for that matter. Because, I mean, my hometown is a tourism, fishing-based community. So, I mean, a lot of the careers there are not, they're not educated careers. They're just labor positions. So, I mean, the most educated people in my town probably work for the hospital or teachers.
Yeah.
Everybody else kind of, even the government jobs have all centralized into the bigger centers. So,
why is it that you see so many people from out east working here in the north or out west? In your opinion?
I mean, that's where the opportunities are.
But what's with the lack of opportunity out east? Is it just like nothing going on?
Nothing going on. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, the things that are going on are not high-paying industries. I mean, oil and gas is obviously a big influence on that. I mean, that's where you go make good money. And if you're going to work a rotation or you want to go west, I mean, the whole goal. I mean, 90% of Newfies that move away end up wanting to move back at some point. So
totally. Well, it does seem like there's a big draw to leave, but then a big draw to return.
So if you're going to move away with the intentions of moving home, you kind of got to make a little nest egg there to be able to come back and most people will come back home, build a house, might already have the land there, or maybe they got to go buy land. But yeah, the end goal is always to move back home. I mean, I'm not going to lie. My goal is to eventually probably have a place back in Newfoundland and maybe a place here.
I've never been out east. Is it beautiful?
It's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely different from what I remember. I mean, I know winters there are not nowhere near like they used to be. I mean, it's the middle of January there now, and it was plus 7 degrees yesterday.
Oh, wow. Well, it's pretty warm here right now, so.
Well, I guess, yeah. But now we also got 18 inches of snow on the ground, so.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when you decided to come up here full time, was it just that kind of classic draw of needing to exercise your skills in a market that actually paid?
Well, I mean, I had a job in St. John's, which is the biggest city in Newfoundland there, and I was working for Central Dairies, but I could not get into living in a city. I didn't like living in the city. That life is not for me. I like the action adventure, skidooing, out on the land.
There's a freedom to living.
Yeah, that freedom is definitely the draw that brings me to a smaller place. So.
And did that kind of get fostered in you from your time up here to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough that I had two amazing dads in my life where my father and my stepfather both were, heavy into the outdoors, cabin life, moose hunting, everything that, young kids should be into.
Sure.
So, yeah, I was lucky on that side of things. So, I mean, obviously Norman Wells is the epitome of, outdoors.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, if you were going to market this town to an audience to try to draw people here, I mean, that would be the audience.
Well, it's all about lifestyle.
Yeah.
In terms of marketing this place.
Exactly.
It's right. There's drawbacks, but it's isolated and you don't have the comforts that you do everywhere else. But there's a lot of other really cool things about it too.
Exactly.
I always tell people that falling in love with it sneaks up on you. Yeah.
I know many people came to this community and, a 1 or 2 year plan, and next thing you know, it's 7, 8, 10 years later and still here.
And then you have the complete opposite where it's 1 year plan, 3 days later.
It's just one extreme or the other. Yeah, there's no in between.
Okay, so yeah, tell me about when you fully moved here. Like when you finally decided to be Norman Wells is where I'm going to be full time.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I mean, I first moved up, lived with my dad, spent about 6 months living with him. Ended up getting some roommates there and getting an apartment together. I mean, it's a great part of growing up and learning how to be a young adult. And it was pretty cool to get out on my own and can't say that didn't come without challenges.
Sure.
Roommates always.
It's I didn't even consider what I hated about living with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it was good. It was all people that I grew up with around here too.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah.
It could be small things. It's why do you step out of the shower onto the floor and then you leave a puddle on the floor? Things like that. It's you don't really think about.
Yeah, I want the temperature at 20 degrees. No, I wanted it at 18.
Yeah,
that type of stuff.
That's way colder.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
okay, cool. And then how long before you got involved with emergency services? Was it?
So I was in town. It was summer of 2015. Yeah, summer of 2015, I joined the fire department there. I'd always been interested in it.
Just as a volunteer.
Just as a volunteer, yeah. I put my name in. Yeah, just decided to join up on a whim and never looked back.
And what was the department like then? I only know it from, my time here, but
I mean,
I only know it under your leadership.
yeah, I guess we had a good department back then. It used to go through periods of ups and downs. I mean, we had, quite a few people from Imperial Oil that were on there back when they used to fully staff all their houses and stuff. So we did have a good group of guys. It was more of an older bunch. I mean, I'd say the average age was probably 10 to 15 years higher than what our average would be right now. I mean, we kind of got a younger crew right now. But yeah, the department went through some times there after, Imperial decided to, stop housing their members here. We lost a few good guys and, ConocoPhillips and Husky there, they stopped working. So, I mean, the town's population kind of took a little bit of a dive. We went from about 800 to, 7.25. So, that's a significant drop.
Yeah, it's like a fifth.
I think at one point there, the lowest point of the fire department, we were down to like 6 people.
Yeah.
Which was, that was a pressing time.
Well, and then you had relatively high turnover of leadership, right?
We did, yeah. We went through a couple chiefs there.
That's brutal.
Yeah. You get one guy in there, everybody starts to get comfortable, and then next thing you know, you're shaking around again. But
yeah, and leadership can have a huge impact on your like day-to-day experience, and like you might have enjoyed it under one person, but then really not enjoyed it under another. So then
we've seen all spectrums of chiefs. We've seen highly involved. We've seen not involved much at all. We've seen chiefs with personal agendas, and yeah, we've been all over the place, but we survived.
Yeah, one thing I always thought was that it's far better to have someone who lives here because the consistency is so much more valuable than, like, say you get someone who's highly competent, been a fire chief for their whole career or whatever, they come up here and then they spend like a year and then leave, and it's like, well, that didn't do us, and even though you were incredible at your job, it did us no good.
You need that local knowledge. I mean, the thing is that you can come up here. I mean, we've had chiefs from major cities and major centers down in, Ontario, Winnipeg. And the thing is, and I'm not knocking anything against their skills or abilities, but you don't have experience in a remote northern community. You're used to a full-time department where your employees are, that's their job.
Sure.
So
that's a big difference.
Dealing with volunteers, and I mean, let's face it, some of us could be pretty stubborn. So
what?
Yeah, not me. But yeah, you gotta know how to deal with the clientele that you're working with.
Yeah, sure.
Your staff there is, they're volunteers and they have limitations on what they're capable of as well, and that needs to be understood.
Yeah. So how would you characterize what you did differently?
I mean, I just took all my experience from working up here. I mean, I did work for 8 years prior to taking this on as chief, in a northern setting. And it's different than even the other settings that I worked in my other professional career. So I think I just took the experiences of, working in the north and the experience I gained from that and tried to implement that. And I mean, let's face it, I'm passionate about the job.
Sure.
So I think that passion was translated down into confidence to my crew, knowing that they got somebody at the helm that's, truly dedicated to the best interest of what the department, them, the community, all aspects.
Yeah. What would you say is your like strongest aspect of leadership in terms of what you brought to the table?
I think I've got communication skills has probably been my biggest asset. I mean, I'm vocal about everything we do. I can explain to you every process, every decision I make. A lot of chiefs want the military, like, paramilitary attitude where it's like, you do as I say because I told you to do it. Follow chain of command. I'm not opposed to having somebody question my tactics or my methods or motives. And you know what? There's been times where they've challenged me, and you know what? Maybe they have a better way to do it. And we've implemented things that, maybe would, bruise the ego of somebody that was not as resilient.
I did admire that in terms of your leadership, where you did not shy away from suggestions. And I thought that was really admirable, because people can get very strong-headed about that and then just do things a worse way for no good reason. And you need to be able to differentiate between when it is the right time to take opinion and then when it is the right time to say, no, sorry, this is
I'm
the way
going to
we're
veto
doing it.
this.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I did a really good job too. I mean, there's people in the department that have strong skills in certain areas, and I've just, when somebody has that wealth of knowledge, why am I going to step in and let them kind of take the lead? And, I step back and allow them to, do their thing.
Yeah. Well,
And that makes people feel appreciated. You know what I mean?
and tell me about some of the highlights so far. I guess you got 2 more weeks, so you never know what could happen.
We've done some bigger rescues. We've done some crazy things around town, but I think some of the smaller stuff is what really makes me, feel good. Like, having the kids come from the school, do tours of the fire hall, and we even pulled a cat out of a tree here for a resident here the other year. So, I mean,
Can you get more stereotypical than that? That's incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have to use? We don't have a ladder on the truck that does the
No,
trees big enough to merit that. Yeah,
well, we pulled the ladders off the truck and ground ladders. There,
that's sick.
Yeah. So, yeah, me and Chris Jenner there. Yeah, we climbed that tree and saved the day.
That's an awesome highlight.
So, I mean, I'm sure there's probably a lot of firefighters that go their whole career and probably never get that call.
That's almost more iconic than actually fighting a house fire. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We just had Brian Larman, the chief from Inuvik, in to do some training here last week, and it was fun because we went around town and I took him on a town tour. And you know what? It's crazy to see how many structure fires and how many buildings that we've been involved in around here in the 10 years that I've been involved. I mean, it was funny, every street we go up to. And you don't really keep track of that because, you don't really tally that up. But when you actually sit there and, I've had a fire here. Oh, yeah, that house burnt over there. That new house you see right there, that's only there because the last one burnt down.
Well, the craziest was last spring. Mm-hmm. Right? There was 3 structure fires in the course of
1 week.
A week.
Yeah.
Which was just, and then we had a pretty chill summer, all things considered.
Yeah, other than the whiskey flats, but that's a yearly thing.
Sure. It was just the every 2 days it felt like it was like, my God, another one.
You just get the trucks back in service, and then all of a sudden you're
Well, it's funny because I was talking to someone was at my house and they asked me what my pager was, and I was like, oh yeah, that's my pager. I'm not the most involved member, but if it goes off and it's a fire, I try and go. And literally as I was holding it, explaining it to him, it went off. And I was like, oh, it's probably just no, that's a fire. I gotta go.
See you later. Yep.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. It is. There's a lot more to it than you expect.
100%.
But then the other, because I'm happy to be candid. The training doesn't work for my timeline, so I can't show up. But at the same time, if there is a fire, you kind of need people to just hold a hose sometimes, and that can be really helpful.
Exactly. Even bodies on the ground. I mean, even the tasks that go on behind the scenes, maybe not on the front line, are just as important as the ones that are out there.
Or even just showing up to help clean up for if you had 6 guys on a fire, and then
exactly,
it's a lot of work to reset the hoses and all that. So it can be really helpful to have people there too. Yeah. Is there I'm not sure what the path forward is. Do you know, is it public who's taking over? I have no idea.
Yeah. So Deputy Chief Walters is going to be taking over.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, we've got a good succession plan going there. So
I think that's excellent.
Quite confident in the administration that's going to be going forward here.
Awesome. That's sweet. That's a good and you had time to do a proper handoff and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, we had to do a lot of it remotely because, as you know, Craig is out. Had their baby there. But
sure. Well, congratulations, Craig.
Congratulations, Craig. But we've had some good discussions there. When he came into town there the other day, we sat down and
wicked.
I'm leaving a big master list plan, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Here's your daily things, weekly things, monthly things, yearly, quarterly,
Perfect.
just a breakdown of run the fire department for dummies type of thing.
Yeah. Well, and if you might as well take the opportunity. What is your, if you had to pitch right now to residents why people should join the fire department, and give them a sense of what it's like, maybe someone listening will decide to sign up.
I mean, if you want to be able to give back to your community, feel good about doing something, the fire department is the best place to go. I mean, there's no other organization out there where the work that you do can be so impactful to somebody's life. I mean, we literally take people at their worst day and try to make it better. So, I mean, if that's something that you're interested in, I would encourage you to join. There's other benefits. You get the training, you get the experience. I mean, it looks great on a resume. You get tax credits. You get, we do pay our firefighters as well. I mean, it's not a lot, but we do pay them. So I mean, there's lots of incentives to join.
And you get to be a firefighter.
And you get to drive a big red truck.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've enjoyed the time that I spent on the department. Yeah, it's wicked. It is surprising how much work it is. Like when there's a fire.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's not a walk in the park by any means.
And I feel like I've had the chance to fight fires. Well, first of all, I never thought I'd fight house fires. Like, so random to just all of a sudden be on a fire department, but in different seasons too. Like, we had that one fire in February, and it was like there was a truck next to the house that was like covered in 3 inches of ice and stuff like that.
It's so funny that you say that, because we were at the curling club last night, and the guy that owns that truck was there, and we were talking about that.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
I just remember well, I think he got in it and tried to move it, but it was stuck.
Did, yeah. He ended up. There was some mechanical issues with that truck because he tried to start it and drive it before it was warmed up.
Well, it didn't burn.
It didn't burn. Yeah,
it froze.
Well, it had a 5-inch layer of ice on it to keep it safe.
Pretty hard for it to burn. I wonder how did he just let it thaw? Like wait till the spring? I don't know what else you.
He did thaw it. Yeah, he just waited for it to thaw.
That makes sense, because I feel like smashing the ice off was a recipe for breaking windows, and pouring hot water on it's never a good idea.
Yeah, and the amount of diesel you'd have to burn to thaw that.
yeah. Like, get a parachute and put a Herman on there.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
So he was just happy his truck was safe.
Yeah. What about tell me another fire story. What was the most surprising or interesting story that you have of your time as chief?
I guess one of the craziest ones for me, and it was me running the truck too, because this was back when I was just a firefighter, but we had our old pump too, the old girl there sitting outside the water plant right now. Yeah. And if you ever go by that truck and look at the reflectors on the driver's side, is it the driver or passenger side? Passenger side of the truck, yeah. If you look at the passenger side reflectors and the shroud around the headlight, you'll notice that it's all warped and gone, like it melted.
Okay. It's a little hot.
So anyways, we were fighting a dump fire up there. It was decent winds. We must have done a practice with the truck recently before that. So there was an issue with one of the intake grates being plugged up with some debris that hadn't been cleaned out after practice. Mm-hmm. We didn't know this at the time. Had the portable tank set up, trying to get water to put the fire out. And I was so involved in what I was doing, trying to get that pump to run. And, I totally lost track of what was happening behind me. And the only thing that got me was I turned my head to go look at something on the pump panel, and I just felt the heat hit the side of my cheek. And I was like, I turned around, and the mattress and sofa pile caught on fire, and we all know how quick that stuff goes up.
Yeah.
And I mean, the truck was 15 feet away from that. Whoa. So, I mean, I could feel the heat on my face.
Well, and the other thing that people might not realize is that your gear does an incredible job at insulating you from the heat. So, like, you probably wouldn't have felt it on your back at all until you turned. And if you had your visor down, I remember fighting a fire once and I was like, oh, my face hurts. And then you put the visor down. It's like, oh, well, that's why that's here.
So yeah, that was a crazy one. I had to get on the radio there and tell everybody to stop what they were doing. Get over here. We're going to burn the truck down. Like a little bit of a minor emergency there.
Move the truck. How long did the dump fire last? That seems like a nightmare.
Depends on, we had multiple, but I think...
You had multiple dump fires?
3 in my tenure.
Oh, God.
One was similar to what Yellowknife has got going on right now with burning under the ground there. So that's one thing that you can have with a dump fire. There is too much organic material without proper layers to separate them. Mm-hmm. And it'll compost and it'll start to burn underground. So that's exactly what Yellowknife is dealing with right now. So we actually had
their dumps on fire right now?
Their dumps on fire right now, yeah. Oh. So we had to bring in heavy equipment, water trucks there, because, I mean, obviously there's no hydrants up there.
That must be part of the logic about kind of putting shale caps.
That is the exact reason why we do shale caps.
Okay. Yeah. So the dump is probably much more fire resistant now.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, they've done a wicked job with the landfill up there, keeping everything segregated.
It does look a lot cleaner.
I mean, this is the exact reason why we have people up there manning the dump to make sure that everything is dumped. We're in the proper area because people don't realize it, but that's a big fire safety issue.
For sure. It's a massive hazard. And doesn't just a dump produce a lot of heat?
It does.
Just in terms
so
of the
even
decomposing?
if you were to go up there right now, there's going to be portions of rock there that won't have any ice on it.
Yeah, because it's just above zero.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. That's kind of cool. Well, what are your hobbies? What do you do with the rest of your time when you're not saving the town?
Hanging out with friends, getting into trouble. Yeah. Like to do a lot of skidooing out in the land.
What are your favorite destinations?
I mean, the cabin.
25 or your own cabin?
I got multiple cabins that I visit. I got a lot of friends. I don't have a cabin myself. I got a lot of friends with cabins. But yeah, basically any cabin. 25, down at Vermilion Creek, down at Canyon Creek. I got buddies that got cabins all over. So
it's a pretty good time.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good time.
Yeah. Shed beers is definitely a favorite pastime of mine. That's kind of
shed beer is pretty good.
Cheers to that one.
Cheers, man. So what's next? You're headed down to, was it Hay River?
Next for me, Hay River, yeah, it'll be a different chapter for sure. I think there's going to be a big change in pace for me here.
Sure. And what was the pull? What was the draw? What was the pull?
I think the call volume and the ability to get experience that I'm not capable of obtaining here in town, just because of the fact that we're a defensive fire department.
Sure.
We don't deal with the medical calls like Hay River does. Like they run a full-fledged ambulance down here. So
cool. All right. So you have a desire for more experience.
More experience, yeah. I mean, I'm in this career now. I mean, I've got a lot of experience running a fire department. I've got management experience, but I need more frontline experience in order to...
So you're not going to go become another fire chief. You're going to,
work my way through the...
Yeah.
I mean, the goal is eventually when I get down there is to get into like an officer's position within the department itself. But I mean, obviously I need to earn that as well. So.
No, certainly. But it's highly probable since you have so much management experience.
I know that the competition's happening this summer and I've already started building my resume for...
Very cool.
For that reason, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So...
And is there anything else in Hay River other than that? Like you got family down there or friends?
My grandfather used to work for NT. So, I mean, obviously he was based out of Hay River. I mean... So I do actually have quite a few people that know my family and, I'm sure have probably heard from grandfather over the years, so it's pretty cool. When I went to the fire department social down there over Christmas, I mean, obviously I didn't want to throw the name around because, I mean, I don't want to sound conceited. But
just name and drop on your grandfather.
Name dropping the grandfather there. But yeah, so when she found out that I was Scotty's grandson, of course, that was the big announcement across the table there. Hey, everybody, this is Scotty's grandson. And of course, everybody on the fire department that was above the age of 40 years old remembers who he is. So, not so much the younger guys, but...
Is he passed now?
No. He's 79 years old and still working.
Heck yeah. And where does he live? Does he live back out east?
He's back in Newfoundland.
Okay. As all Newfies do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He never moved away from home. He just he did the
rotational
thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. And yeah, what else? What else is going on? I guess it's kind of bizarre to believe. What are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling pretty good, I must say. Yeah, I think things are going to work out. It seems like a town that's got everything, maybe not quite as well for the outdoor side of things as what Norman Wells would offer, but I mean, you're on a highway, so you got access to all the same territory. You just might have to drive a little bit further to get to it. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe let's go way back. Tell me about growing up and your childhood. Like, what was your early years like? What made you... Like, you clearly have this desire to help people and this wanting, like, a love for adventure, and it all kind of culminates in what your career path is now. So tell me about the roots of all that and kind of maybe how your parents influenced you when you were a kid.
I mean, I can owe a lot of that wanting to help and do the right thing. That's definitely my mother's side right there.
What was she like?
She's an amazing woman, yeah. She... firm believer in, doing the right thing, even though it might not be what you want to do, but if it's for the greater good, then you do it anyways.
I really love that ethos. I think that's really cool.
That's, like there's a lot of things we do in life that maybe is not so beneficial for me in the end of the day, but you know, if it's for the greater good, then you just do it, right?
Totally.
You know.
And yeah, what was her? Tell me more about her. Paint us the picture of what she was like.
I mean, typical mom was cool. I had a lot of fun growing up. I was given a lot of freedom. Obviously, when that freedom was taken advantage of, you got freedoms taken away, but
As you do.
as you do. But yeah, I was, you know, always given the freedom to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And I mean, I had a relationship with my mom where it was like, you were going to get in more trouble if you just didn't, if you lied. So you're better off to be honest and
Admit your mistakes.
whenever you made a mistake, just be honest about it. You're not going to get yelled at, you know, just own up to it and, you know, deal with the consequences.
And you have sisters, did you say?
I do, yeah.
How many sisters?
So I've got 3 sisters. I've got my 2 sisters on my dad's side, and then I got a stepsister on my stepfather's side.
Okay, and what's the age spread?
So my stepsister is 10 years older than me.
Okay.
She's a teacher back in Newfoundland.
Okay.
My youngest sisters are 10 years younger than me.
Oh, whoa.
So
That's a pretty big spread.
it's a pretty big spread, yeah.
So, like, you have siblings, but you didn't really kind of grow up together.
Exactly.
So your youth was kind of like an only child in some ways?
Well, I've got my brother there, and he's living with
you got
me.
a brother.
He's living with me here in Norman Wells here
Okay.
now, but he's 5 years younger than me. So even that, we kind of were at that age gap where we didn't really do a whole lot of things together.
Yeah,
because
my brother's 8 years younger than me, and it's a big difference.
It's a big difference,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he was more of a burden to me than anything because, like, I want to go hang out with my friends. I don't want to have to worry about this little pipsqueak. Yeah. But, you know, it's so funny because in the last 2 years that he's moved here, I mean, I feel like we did a lot of connecting that we didn't get to do when we were younger because, I mean,
cool.
I went to school and moved out right away, started working.
Yeah, like when he's at home, you're in school and, as a kid, and then when he's in school, finally you're in middle school. And
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
You're always one significant life stage ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we never did really get that opportunity to do those cool things. And, I mean, living with him the last 2 years has been awesome.
Nice. That's wicked. So is he sticking around?
He's going to stick around.
What is he doing here?
He works for the Public Works Department for the town of Norman
Oh,
Wells.
there you go. Nice.
Yeah, Mr. Plowman.
It must be kind of rough to see you go for him.
Yeah. I think he definitely would have preferred me to stay, but he understands the reasoning behind it.
And then tell me about your dad, and because he spent a lot of time out here, right? So, you know, I think a lot of people know your dad, but what's he like?
He's ninja. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can attribute a lot of my grittiness and my, you know, toughness and resilience to, you know, I will say that my old man definitely was somebody that had high expectations, and I think that, you know, that led me to be successful because I always did have that high bar that I had to meet, and I mean, I think it benefited me a lot in the long run. I mean, I'm definitely sure there was days where I was like, but
Yeah.
you know, it's all because they care.
Yeah, for sure. My dad was pretty strict when I was growing up, and it always drove me crazy. But looking back, I do really appreciate it.
It's tough love, right?
Yeah. I think we need more of that these days.
Yeah. This gentle parenting approach. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see the results in 20 years.
Yeah, we'll find out, eh? Good God.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there was no gentle parenting in my repertoire. Yeah, and awesome. I mean, I remember doing so many trips up here with him, and like, I don't know, this is like the example of his, you know, wanting me to do good is like, okay, you're on Great Bear Lake fishing, and we're trolling for fish, and you look back and you can see the line coming out from behind the boat, and he's yelling, keep the boat straight, and you look back and you'd swear to God there might only be like a degree or two, but no, keep that boat straight.
So when you were young, did you spend a lot of time on the land?
Did, yeah.
Nice. And was it mostly just with your dad, or did you spend out on the land with community members as well?
I mean, I remember going out on the land a lot up here. We would go down, like, one I remember, like, predominantly was going down to Stuart Pope's cabin. I mean, Stuart, my old man, still really good friends to this day. We'd go down to Stuart's, and Stuart's cabin is right at Hoosier Ridge, right across from Oscar Creek.
Yeah.
So Oscar Creek is where Wilfred McDonald's cabin is, and he used to live down there. So I remember being a kid, we'd go to Stuart's cabin, we'd set up our tent, next thing you know, the boys would be
Just
like,
summer or winter time?
summertime.
Okay.
Yeah, be in the boats, and then somebody would be like, "Well, let's go over and get Wilfred," and we'd bring him over, and it's just it's just good memories. Yeah.
That's sweet. And
Pretty
then
cool.
do you guys spend time hunting and fishing, or
Yeah.
or was it mostly kind of like recreating and quadding and things
I mean,
like that?
depends on the time of year. I mean,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it's in the middle of summer, you're pretty much just down there just enjoying the land. But
Yeah.
I mean, fall time, we're hunting. The worst thing is I never really got to enjoy too much of the fall time stuff because I spent my summers here. So I usually like end of August I was on the plane heading back to Newfoundland to go
Headed back to school.
Right?
Yeah.
So I kind of got to miss out on that side of things.
So was kind of spending your summers here with so much freedom and then going back to school, was that a difficult change? Like, so I spent my summers canoe tripping in Ontario, and then I would go back to school in Mexico. Now, I enjoyed going back to school, but there was definitely this thing where I felt like on the trips there was so much more responsibility, and I felt older than I did back in school. Like, I was still treated like a kid, but I was doing things out on the land where I was like, no, like a kid couldn't do what we were doing. You
Well,
know?
like for example, I know when we go camping there, my old man gave me this 410 shotgun, and I had a pocket full of slugs, and that was my gun. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Totally.
protect yourself, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Those
I
partridge, you never know when they're going to come
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So yeah, I know what you mean when you say that. Yeah,
Yeah.
You definitely felt like you were growing up. You were being given that level of responsibility.
And then did your classmates have similar experiences, or was your summers like totally crazy to them?
I mean, the things that I got to experience up here. I mean, yeah, we get a little taste of that back in Newfoundland, but it's not here.
And most of your classmates, they spent their summers in Newfoundland.
Yes, yeah.
I guess there's the ocean, which is some pretty serious business when you're out there.
The ocean's serious business. Yeah, yeah. I hear you on that.
Which is, it's like I spend a lot of time driving boats on lakes, and so I feel pretty comfortable in a boat. But the river is a whole different deal.
This is a totally different type of boating.
Yeah,
I feel like I got a pretty good handle on it now, but I tell you, you really don't want to be out here messing around without, getting a little bit of experience from somebody that does know what they're doing, because it's a completely different ballgame.
it's harder. It's reading the water is really different, and not just the current, but kind of like it's so tied to a sense of place, because you get a feel for. It's not quite the right thing to say, but like the decisions that the land makes in terms of where there's shoals and things like that. Like for a lake, I had a really good understanding of like, oh, when the shore does this, it's very likely that there's a shoal out there, or if it's really steep or whatnot. But it doesn't necessarily translate to the river. It's a really different thing.
It's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I boat, I just I'm like in the barge channel.
Just stay in the channel, yeah. Well, I went and bought a jet boat, so you don't need to worry about it as much.
I've only ever ridden in jet boats up here, and it kind of blew my mind when I got in one.
The capabilities are crazy.
So how big is your jet boat?
That's just a 16-footer. It's not the biggest. It's just
And how big is the engine?
it's a 40 horse. It's not
So you can get going.
well, yeah, it's an outboard jet, so it's not like most people got the jet boats with like a big V8 engine in it. So it's not the same as that. It's kind of I got the economy model.
Well, yeah, sure, but it must be even more mobile than one of the bigger ones, right?
Well, the thing is, if I get stuck, I can push the boat off myself. If the big boat gets
yeah.
stuck, you're not moving 3,500 pounds
It's
of dead
the
weight.
difference between like what's the difference like a 300cc quad and a heavy
Can-Am
quad.
1000.
Yeah. Like you have the power, but you can't really lift
your
it.
350 Honda is a little easier to pull out of the mud than that big brute of a 1000 Can-Am. Yeah.
So what's the shallowest? Like how much water do you need? Like probably like inches.
2 inches.
2 inches.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Basically, if you don't see anything sticking out of the water, you can go there.
So what kind of trouble have you gotten yourself into on the jet boat?
I've been places where most people can only dream of getting. Yeah,
That's pretty cool. And can you hunt from the boat?
Oh yeah.
If you turn the engine off, I don't know what the laws are.
Yeah, I mean that's the majority of my hunting's been done from a boat. I know boats are one of the only vehicles that you can actually legally hunt from up here, because like a quad and a skidoo, you can easily just step off the skidoo and
Yeah, you don't need to sit on the skidoo.
So a boat, you're actually it's kind of hard to get out of a boat. You're swimming.
I think in Ontario, the only boat you can hunt from is a canoe.
Probably.
Like you can't shoot from a motorboat. Like you have to be in a canoe if you want to.
Territory's subsistence hunting is such a part of the culture and the lifestyle here that that's just wouldn't be reasonable.
So you got moose, caribou, and all that. You shot all those animals.
Multiple.
I spent a lot of time working with game and been present for hunts, but never hunted myself particularly.
That's one of the things that I'm probably most worried about moving to a new place is I've got the lay of the land figured out here now, so I know where the moose like to congregate. I know where to go get caribou. I know these things. Well, I'm moving to a completely different environment here now, one that was actually just recently ravaged by forest fires. So, I mean, that adds another dynamic into it too. So where do I go to get moose?
True. I guess you could come up here.
I guess. Yeah, we plan on making a trip here to 222. That's
cool.
the goal this year, is to pack trailer up, drive down through the Yukon, and head to 222.
Can you drive to 222? Oh,
Sure
okay.
can, yeah. So the Yukon keeps the road maintained right to the territory's border.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, plan on making it out there and see the Sahtú from the other side of the...
Have you been that far in the mountains yet?
I've not. No.
That's pretty cool.
No. The furthest I've been is probably about halfway.
Yeah, probably the furthest out I've been is 10 stone, if I had to guess.
That's probably about halfway.
It's pretty far.
Yeah.
It's wild out there. The Mackenzies are they're something else, man. They're really unique.
Yeah, those mountains are freaking crazy, man. I don't know how I'm gonna cope living in a place where there's no mountains, because in Hay River there's no mountains.
Yeah, well, it's weird because it's like, I got so used to the river and the mountains being there, but then there's other benefits. Well, obviously a highway is kind of cool, and being able to travel like really far on a whim is really interesting. And but yeah, how far did the Mackenzies go down? I know that they go right into the Rockies, but like, how far is Nahanni from you? And I'm not sure if you can hunt
I know
there.
there's good hunting around Fort Liard, which is that area.
Okay, yeah.
And I think Liard is about a 5-hour drive.
Yeah, I'm sure that your knowledge will translate relatively easily. Yeah. It's not like you're moving to like...
I just got to bring the boat with
Yeah.
me, that's all.
So if you're in a jet boat and you shoot a moose in 2 inches of water, can you get out with a moose in your jet boat on 2 inches of water?
No, you need a little bit more than that. Yeah,
You gotta
go to a deep spot. Yeah.
you gotta think before you pull the trigger.
Yeah. I mean, generally, most people will try to. I mean, you're not technically allowed to scare the moose to kind of make it do what you want. But I mean, if the moose is walking and it's in a not desirable area, then you wait till that moose moves somewhere where it's...
Yeah, because especially if you're alone, you're definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to wait until that moose is right where I want it, and then we shoot it there. Right? Not in the water. Preferably not in the water.
Yeah, well, is that just difficult? Why is that difficult?
I mean, if you want to be standing up to your knees in water while you're trying to pull the hide off of something, be my guest.
And it just can kind of get the meat dirty and stuff like that.
Yeah, it'll get the meat dirty, and it's just like driving with snow on the road. You can still do it, but
sure,
it's a hell of a lot harder when there's 6 inches of snow.
You got any standout hunting stories to tell us?
I don't know if I'd want to tell them on camera. Good hunter never gives up his secrets.
Well, have you shot muskox too?
Muskox is the only animal that I've never really tried to shoot up here.
Oh man,
I had a tag once before, and I was unsuccessful.
I feel like that's the because like you can shoot moose and caribou and deer everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but in a lot of other places. But muskox is kind of unique to up here.
I mean, see, a lot of people want muskox because they want the fur, they want the horns.
Totally.
I'm not.
But I think the meat's delicious too.
I'm not a trophy hunter, and I prefer moose and caribou a lot more than what I do.
Really?
Muskox. Yeah.
If I had to rank them, I'd go muskox, moose, caribou. Muskox is my favorite.
See, I'm moose, caribou. I don't know which one would be ranked first. Caribou's pretty darn good, but I like moose because you get more volume.
Yeah, I think that I have a suspicion that I've only eaten particularly gamey caribou. Like, I haven't had a caribou that is like... There's like a kind of a spectrum in terms of like, like that's really nice meat, and it has to do with the time of year that it was harvested, right?
The time of year, the way that it was harvested,
the age of the animal.
Yeah, the age of the animal, the shot itself plays a big difference in it, because if the animal runs and gets tensed up before it succumbs, then I mean obviously you're dealing with that. Obviously the best case scenario is an instant kill with minimal running and. I mean, obviously everybody likes to see an ethical kill.
Yeah, of course. That's the goal, right?
Not only is it ethical, humanely wise for the animal, but it makes for good meat.
Totally. There's a lot of incentives to do it properly.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. But so you don't want a muskox rack hanging on the wall?
No.
I feel like everyone I know wants one.
I've passed over a good many trophy animals just because I'd rather have the smaller, more tastier meat.
Sure, that's fair.
And to be honest, if I was to get a muskox, those ones that are trophies are not going to be good quality meat. That's when you're going to get the gamey, tough.
Yeah, the older animal.
Yeah.
So do you have your spot picked out where you're going to live down south?
Yeah. I got everything situated. Everything is falling in line.
You renting or are you going to buy a place?
Going to be renting, yeah.
I'm
gonna give renting a try for a year, and if I'm still passionate about the place after a year, then
that makes sense. You don't necessarily need to commit right away to owning a house. Yeah.
Because who knows, if I don't like it, I might just pack my truck back up and come back up here.
Fair enough. It's wonderful to have that kind of freedom. I was gonna say, since the forest fire went through, probably getting firewood is pretty easy. Do you have a wood stove in the place that you're gonna be living?
No wood stove, no. But I think I might just go cut wood just for the hell of it.
Well, send it up here. I need some.
I was looking at some of the freaking wood around town, man. It's
I'm
so easy.
What I don't know is how dry it would be after a forest fire. Because my suspicion, like my instinct goes, it would be dry. But then another part of me goes, probably not as dry as you think.
Probably good now because it's like 3 years past.
Yeah. Like Oscar Creek.
Yeah.
Well, that's more than 3 years past, but
yeah, you'd be like that now. Like it's to the point where like limbs are falling off.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like that's a pretty indication that it's dry wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sooty.
So,
sooty,
and you don't have to go far from town.
No kidding.
It's just right there.
Yeah. Well, you could sell it too.
Yeah. Well,
I guess a lot of people
probably wouldn't be worth much because if it's that easy to get, then it drives the price down. Right?
Well, yeah, but people don't really like cutting firewood. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be so busy running the ambulance down there, I'm not going to have time to think.
So you're going to be on the fire crew, or is it both?
It's both. Yeah.
It's both.
Yeah.
And so tell me more about your position that you're going into. What's it?
So I'm basically doing the same job I'm doing here, just not managing it.
Okay.
So my job title is Protective Services Specialist. So that means I'm going to be fire, ambulance, municipal enforcement, and animal control.
Okay. So you have a nice spread.
The full spread there, yeah.
And is it a professional team down there? Like, are there full-time firefighters down there, or is it also...
So the team that I'm working with is all volunteer. The only full-time members are me and the deputy chief and the chief.
Okay, so it's actually rather similar to here.
It's very similar to here, yeah.
Oh, you're probably a pretty desirable... They probably are happy to have someone else on full-time.
They were quite happy to see my interest when I applied.
That's really cool. So, yeah, you'll be pretty busy then. What's the volume difference in terms of calls? It must be way bigger. How many people in Hay River?
Roughly 3,500.
Okay.
So
that's quite a bit bigger.
Quite a bit bigger, yeah. So I think call volume-wise, they're doing, I think, 850 to 900 calls a year.
Oh, okay. So that's like multiple a week.
Yeah,
sometimes multiple a day.
We're talking average of 2.5 a day.
And it's whoa.
But that's mostly the ambulance, right? So
okay,
the ambulance is busy.
And you don't need many bodies when you're dealing. Like you don't need like 10 people.
It's not a full crew response. So we do a duty crew.
Okay.
And the duty crew is responsible that week for.
So you have a volunteer you'll have different volunteers depending on the week that you're, and then you'll be the consistent member.
I mean, chances are a lot of times it'll probably be me and like the deputy chief might take the call because we're already at work anyways.
Uh-huh. And are you going to be doing more medical training, like specifically?
Oh, yes,
yeah.
So with the training I have right now, because we're BLS certified, I can still go on the ambulance as an attendant, but I just can't be the primary attendant.
Totally.
So, but now once the EMR training is completed, then I'll be able to take calls.
And how close to like a paramedic is that?
I mean, there's a big jump in training when it comes to going from an EMR to a full-on paramedic.
What does EMR stand for?
Emergency Medical Responder.
Okay.
So that's a 80-hour course. It's the basic entry level for air ambulance service. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the EMR is the 80-hour course. Correct. I feel like the 80 hours is the minimum you need to be more serious about those things.
They
that's
are
what the
very, very serious about their ambulance. Like there's competencies that you got to sign off on. So like
spinals and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not checked off on a certain competency, then you're not able to work on that ambulance. You know what I mean? So you got to work with your partner there, and once you've done enough volume of calls that you're able to check off all your competencies for whatever the task is that
totally
they're wanting you to demonstrate proficiency. So once you get that all signed off, then you're good to go.
And have you done that course already?
No, that'll start as soon as I get down there.
Okay, cool. And do you have to travel for that, or is it in town?
No, it's an internal thing that we do.
Okay, great. So are more of the volunteers doing it as well?
all the volunteers down there are working on the ambulance as well. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So and the ones that aren't working on the ambulance are actively working towards getting to that point.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine it's the kind of thing where you want everyone who's available to be trained up to that point.
We have, I think, 37 or 36 members down there.
Oh yeah.
So it's a fair decent sized group of volunteers.
Oh, that's real. I'm really excited for you. I feel like you're gonna learn a whole lot.
Oh yeah. Yep. I can say that again.
Are you nervous?
Nah.
There'll probably be experiences that
you know me. I don't worry about things until.
Well, there is an advantage to. Well, you don't need you don't want to have anxiety ahead of time for this kind of a job, but it also helps you to live in the moment, right? So it's not like you're freaking out in the moment, but you're consumed with what's going on there. So your full attention is towards what you're doing in that moment. Yeah. That's very cool. So then, goal is to get a bunch of experience on there, and then is the dream to be a fire chief out east kind of thing?
I don't know. I haven't really thought that far ahead, to be honest.
That seems like a relatively good plan for working.
Mind. I mean, at some point in my career, being able to take a retirement job at a smaller community that maybe involves being back in Newfoundland, I don't know.
And do you see yourself actually retiring, or are you someone who's going to work till forever? I think I'm kidding myself if I am going to even if I retire, I'll probably still work in some way.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever be that guy that just fully retires and just sits at home watching TV, waiting for.
I think that would kill me.
Waiting for Jeopardy to come on at 6 o'clock. Yeah, that's not going to be me. I could see myself still keeping an active role in maybe doing some training for other fire departments or picking up a part-time and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I mean, you got to have some form of purpose in your life.
If you had to kind of wrap it up in encapsulate it in some way, what were the biggest things you learned from living at Norwell's and your time here and your job and whatnot? What were the big takeaways? What are the big takeaways?
Even when times get tough and things look like there's no positive outlook in the future here in the horizon, you just got to keep your nose, keep taking steps forward, push through it, be tough. I think that's the biggest takeaway you can get from this community, because believe me, living here, there's challenges that are not easy. Things constantly come mess your day up, things that you just don't expect, and it's just part and parcel, and you just got to work your way through it. Keep your nose to the grindstone, hold your head high, do the best you can do.
And is there anything, I know that you're not gone yet, but is there anything that you want to say to the community about your time here?
I mean, I really thank everybody that's, supported me over the years. Made a lot of great friends here, relationships that I'll never ever forget. I mean, this town is full of freaking beautiful people, right from the top to the bottom, and I'll miss it. I'll miss everybody.
Amen.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Brandon. I really appreciate you taking the time, and it's a big loss having you go, and but I'm excited to see you grow and push yourself and soar to new heights.
I'll still be back to visit, don't worry.
All right, perfect. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.